Episode 8 of Power Book 4, Force. Alternate long voiceover script, The Domino War. The 8th episode doesn't blow up all at once. Piece by piece, it falls apart. Every action. Each and every lie. All of the choices made earlier in the season are now due. One thing about Chicago is demonstrated by this episode: nothing remains buried indefinitely. There is pressure at the beginning of the episode, quiet, oppressive pressure. The streets are not noisy, but tense. Everyone knows that something is about to happen, but nobody can predict where it will strike first. Tommy Egan is aware. He now has a greater understanding of the city. He knows who's terrified, who's desperate, and who's already scheming to betray someone. Tommy has fully developed in episode 8, anticipating issues rather than responding to them. Whoever has the most muscle is no longer the main factor in the conflict. It has to do with timing. When supply routes begin to become disrupted, the first domino falls. Nothing ostentatious. Just enough mayhem to cause anxiety in the crews. People begin to inquire. Fingers begin to point. An allegiance begins to seep out as soon as uncertainty enters the room. Tommy takes his time fixing it. He lets it breathe. Tommy Egan is aware. He now has a greater understanding of the city. He knows who's terrified, who's desperate, and who's already scheming to betray someone. Tommy has fully developed in episode 8, anticipating issues rather than responding to them. Whoever has the most muscle is no longer the main factor in the conflict. It has to do with timing. When supply routes begin to become disrupted, the first domino falls. Nothing ostentatious. Just enough mayhem to cause anxiety in the crews. People begin to inquire. Fingers begin to point. An allegiance begins to seep out as soon as uncertainty enters the room. Tommy takes his time fixing it. He allows it to breathe. Violence erupts, strategically, not emotionally. Crisp hits. Accurate timing. Not a speech. Just corpses abandoned to convey a message. The city recognizes that the battle has officially begun at this point. Nobody asserts accountability. No one has to. It's a loud enough message. Treachery is the third domino. Not the apparent type. The private sort. Someone nearby makes a motion that totally throws the balance off. For survival, not for dominance. And it's risky because of that. Because decisions about survival don't adhere to rules. Tommy senses it at once. This betrayal impacts not only commerce but also the future course of the conflict. It toughens him. His patience during the entire episode vanishes. It's about control now. The city has changed by the halfway point of episode 8. Once powerful crews now appear vulnerable. Just because they are still standing, smaller players get up. The order is inverted. And the pressure from law enforcement tightens everything. It gets noisier in the streets. Errors happen more quickly. People make snap decisions that they should have considered. Fear accelerates the process. An unsuccessful attempt at peace is represented by the fourth domino. One last sitting down. A final opportunity to bring things under control. It is ineffective. There's already too much harm done. Already, too many lies have been said. Everyone leaves the meeting knowing what will happen next, even though there is no resolution. Conflict. Episode 8's last act is all about the consequences. Plans clash. There is overlap in strategies. And someone makes a terrible calculation error. The fourth domino represents a failing attempt at peace. Take a final seat. One last chance to manage the situation. It does not work. Too much harm has already been done. Too many lies have been said already. Even if there is no conclusion, everyone leaves the meeting knowing what will happen next. Dispute. The final act of episode 8 is all about the fallout. Plans diverge. The strategies are similar. And a severe calculation error is made by someone. Trailer-style narration, when war becomes personal. Peace was never intended for this city. It was designed for power. Power demands blood in Episode 8. Chicago remains silent. Not because it's silent, but rather because everyone is aware of what will happen next. One step. A single error. One betrayal, and the entire city burns. In the center of everything is Tommy Egan. Avoid yelling. Do not panic. Computing. Since everyone else is responding, Tommy has already advanced 3 steps. This is no longer a business. It's a war. Once solid alliances begin to break under pressure, fake smiles appear. Shakes become lethal. Every conversation seems like a setup, and it most often is. No one can be trusted. And that's precisely how conflicts are won. Supply lines begin to break. Squeezes are felt by crews. Paranoia spreads like a virus through the streets, and fear moves more quickly than money. Somebody speaks. It's always someone. Furthermore, there is no such thing as neutral ground once information emerges. Meetings turn into a trap. Deals result in death sentences. Bodies fall as declarations rather than as warnings. Chicago understands. The rules no longer apply. No more secure areas. The sort that comes from near, so it cuts deep. The kind that modifies the way the war is fought, not just the balance of power. Tommy changes at that point. There is no more patience. The kindness wanes. It's about control now. New players emerge from the pandemonium as the city spins. Old rulers are overthrown. Everyone is now vulnerable as the power structure shifts in real time. Pressure is increased by law enforcement. It gets noisier in the streets. Decisions become quicker. Errors can be deadly. Peace has one final opportunity. One sitting down. One space. Just a moment to halt the bleeding. It is unsuccessful. Since Episode 8, the last moves were quick and forceful. Plans go awry. Someone makes a mistake. And everything appears different once the dust settles. There's a rise. Everything is lost by someone. Tommy Egan, who knows that the line has been crossed permanently, stands tall. Territory is not at issue here. Money is not at issue here. Who lives long enough to control what's left is the question at hand. The conflict isn't hinted at in Episode 8. It lets it go. And once Chicago makes a decision, there's no going back. Dark trailer narration, no survivors, only winners. Chicago has stopped whispering. It grunts. Because mercy is extinct by Episode 8. This city doesn't take sides. It is picking victims. All the streets are tense. Every door seems dangerous. It feels like a borrowed breath. Tommy Egan is at the core of it all. Not like a hero. Not as a deliverer. However, as a man who is aware of one reality, being good does not make you survive a battle. You have to be worse to live. From the inside out, alliances decay. Fear is hidden by smiles. A liability arises from loyalty. Individuals no longer ask who they may trust. They want to know who will die first. Supply lines deliberately fail. Chaos is planned, it is not an accident. Crews go hungry. There's pressure. And men who are desperate become spies. Someone converses. They consistently do. Neutral land turns become a cemetery as soon as secrets are revealed. Ambushes happen at meetings. Deals result in bloodshed. The purpose of leaving bodies behind is to humiliate, not to warn. This isn't a communication. It's control. Neutral ground turns into a graveyard once secrets start to circulate. Ambushes occur during meetings. Deals turn violent. Bodies are left behind to humiliate rather than to warn. There is no message here. It is supremacy. Next is the betrayal. Not noisy. Not a big deal. Computable.